distant river valley, deep in the misty Belgian forest, lies an ancient track that poses a brutal high-speed puzzle. Hi, and welcome to the 5th round of the Miss Apex iRacing Championship as we brave all the weather to visit the legendary Spa-Francorchamps. From the perils of Gouin to the savagery of Stabilo to the Radillon Roulette, the drivers will dial it up to 11, chasing the sweet nectar of championship glory. To get us underway today, please give a warm welcome to your commentators, Stuffy and Chris Catman Turner.
Good evening, everyone, to this round 5 of the Missed Apex Championship. We are at the beautiful, the very fast Spa-Francorchamps. A great introduction there by the one and only Matt Trumpets. And today, I am not alone. I am here with the one and only Mr. Catman Turner. How's it going, Chris?
It's going great. It's fantastic to be back, particularly at this wonderful circuit. As you said, it's such a fast-flowing circuit, and we've got the 3 different cars today, so it should provide us with a lot of different action.
Most certainly. If you're unfamiliar with the format of this season's championship, we have 3 disciplines, 3 classes that the drivers have to deal with. We start off in the lowest powered car, which is the F4 series, but do not be deceived, this car provides some of the best and closest racing that you will find in iRacing. We then head up in power to the F3 car, which has been a long staple of the Missed Apex Championship, which our drivers are also familiar with. However, with that middle race, we have a reverse grid. The top 20 will be a reverse grid from the first race in the F4, and likewise that will be the case for our last race of this evening, where we step up to the most powerful of the open wheel cars on offer, the Super Formula car. And well, Spa-Francorchamps, it always provides drama, no matter what car, no matter what series you're in, and it has also provided plenty of drama in the past in this very championship. So really looking forward to this. We've got a good race on our hands. The likes of Danny Henny looking to extend his lead at the top of the championship table, not only overall but in his platinum class discipline. Luke Power has been on top form here. That is everyone is keeping an eye out of from certain group chats that we are involved in, and then James Gill as well, looking to close that gap on Danny Henny at the top. But lots on offer to play for throughout the classes. But let's have a round recap of Agnicourse.
Season 8, Round 4 of the Missed Apex iRacing saw us take on a new track, the Magny-Cours Grand Prix circuit.
And we're away we go, as there's a good start there from Luke Power as he moves over to cover off Danny Henny. But there's a great start from Danny Henny, looking at the back here of Alex Smithy. But Smithy, great start as he got off the line there.
But at the next corner, Danny fell foul of his younger rival.
Oh, it's very close there. I think there might have been a touch of wheels as Luke Power regains second position.
Then Luke went after Smithy, but Danny saw an opportunity and pounced.
Luke now has a move, but Smithy goes defensive. Has he left him room? Is there room for both of them? There is, as Danny Henny is now looking to capitalise on that moment. As Danny Henny has gone from third place to first in a couple of corners.
Luke kept up the attack on Smithy, but those dreaded crash fairies were lying in wait.
Luke is looking up the inside. Oh, and they've made contact. And unfortunately, Luke there doesn't quite execute the overtake.
Up at the front, Danny Henny kept his cool, kept it clean, and kept it on course to take the win.
Danny Henny, a comfortable win for him. He had to fight hard for it at the start. Not the best qualifying position for him, but starting 4th place, he ended up finishing in P1.
Race 2 in the Dallara F3s saw Mike Stoner and Nick Alexander battling from the starting line for the lead.
They head down to the first fast swooping corner. Oh, he loses a couple of positions as he gets onto the grass there, as always a couple of cars into the gravel at the start here.
And the argy-bargy didn't take long to settle in.
There's a contact behind, parts flying up in the air. There's lots of lockups there, as it seems James Gill was turned around.
Behind Mike Stoner, Alex Smith was closing in fast and making up positions.
Alex Smith just biding his time, but you can see there Tom just slightly hits the inside apex, and because of the nature of the curve, He gives up the position.
But it didn't take long for the magic to run out for Mike Stoner.
The top three are separated by less than a second. But Alex Smith has got into P1.
And a bit further back, there was a real power struggle going on.
Cole goes defensive on the inside. It's the only thing that he can do right now, as Luke has the slight overdrive on him. But is there enough overlap for him to stick it round the inside? And Cole gives up the position.
As the checkered flag approached, Luke Power and Stephen Williams battled it out for the second step of the podium.
3 tenths behind Luke here. Luke is comfortable with that. Oh, but he's got deep. They're side by side for the chicane. Does Stephen leave it in? He's got to. We've seen incidences here already with Luke Power, and he goes very wide. He's not able to keep hold of it.
But up at the front, Alex Smith took the checkered flag and a well-deserved win.
Alex Smith, a race of redemption from him, and he crosses the finish line in P1.
Race 3 saw a swap to the Super Formula cars, and things did not start well.
Green light, and away we go, as there's already contact at the back there, as we saw a rear wing fly up into the air. We can see here the drivers are off the circuit. That's Spanners, Andrew Sexton and Stephen Williams.
By lap 4, Kyle Power, Danny Henney and Alex Smith had come storming through the pack and were hunting the leaders.
Danny Henney looks like he's about to get a move on. We can see the roll hoop of the red livery there of Danny Henney with that extra boost to push to pass, easily get past Cole Power here.
Danny kept up the pressure and before long grabbed second place from James Gill.
But James Gill does have his push to pass turned on. You can see the rear light there flashing down into this hairpin, and it seems to be that Danny Henney has got ahead and cleared him.
After a stellar drive through the pack, Alex Smith applied a bit too much welly and everything came undone.
Smith's lost it on the curve, just hitting the apex too hard there.
But it was silver class leader Daniel Cook who finally took the win and the points.
And Daniel Cook is your winner of the Super Formula race this evening. Danny Henney in P2 and Kyle Power in P3.
What a drama-filled last round that was. Really enjoyed myself. And here are the standings of the classes. The Platinum class, as mentioned previously, Danny Henney at the top there. Close behind, James Gill and Carl Power alongside Steve Williams on exactly the same amount of points, 366. Luke Power in P5, not close, not far behind either, all to play for in that top class. Gold class, Alex Smith has a bit of a lead now over Tero Titus in P2. Spanners there in P3. It was a good showing last time out for Alex Smith with Daniel Snorsled in P4 and Sexton rounding off the top 5. Then we head to the silver class, where we have Dan Cook up there with quite a sufficient lead over Miguel Morland in P2. Sean Bennett there in third, followed closely behind by Steve Rubins and Alexandros. It's very tight there in all of the classes, and all it takes is for one good showing by one of these drivers in any other classes, and those standings can completely flip on their head. And overall, we can see that Danny Henney maintains the top of the leader of the standings. Unfortunately, Brad Philpott, who is doing some real-life motorsport work, is not able to continue his charge at the top of the standings, so he has dropped down to P10. Hopefully we see a return from him in the latter stages, but yes, it is very, very close up there, and Spa, as we've said previously, provides plenty of drama here, and no doubt we're going to get the same tonight, and I don't think those standings are going to be exactly how they look now, Chris.
Absolutely, and Spa has not been Danny Henney's good track in previous seasons. He's had a lot of mishaps here, so look out for that. And also, I wouldn't expect any runaway leaders at the front of the pack, because the slipstreaming here is very strong, especially in this F4 car that we're seeing just now. So the first race expected to be very tight.
Yes, we're going to see drivers, I think, working together, almost having a mutual understanding in the early stages of the race until we approach the last couple of laps, where we might try and see someone make a getaway. We have seen similar tactics ensued in other tracks, but yes, this track in particular, we know even in F1, the most powerful series available to us, but you're on full throttle for over 70% of the circuit. That is even more in this F4 car. So yeah, really intrigued to see how the drivers handle it, and there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing of positions, just making sure drivers don't lose too much time and allow anyone to get ahead. So it's going to be I think we're going to have plenty of fireworks come at the start and towards the end of the race, and the middle is going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But where does Spa stand on your top tracks, Chris? Do you enjoy watching races around here? How do you enjoy driving it as well?
I think it's one of my favourites of all time, particularly for watching. We've had some cracking races here over the years. I remember watching Brad Philpott and Kyle Power do battle in exactly how you were saying. They dragged each other away from the field using the slipstream, just trading places for a little while, and then it was that last lap action, so you really got to hang in right to the end here. But it's just such a beautiful place. There's so much amazing scenery around, and the curves are just wonderful. There's so many error-generating corners, and it's real test of driver skill. So, and in the years that we've been coming here, these drivers have just been getting better and better, and it's just fantastic to see. And we've got three classes of racing here to go through. So we've got the track map up in front of us here, Stuffy, and which is your favourite corner? I think for me, going through the double gauche corner, the double left coming down the hill is just an absolute thrill.
Through the corner through Pujon, that is turn 10 and 11. There's nothing quite like the thrill of just a slight downshift, a slight lift or tap of the brakes in the lower formulas, and as you get into the higher formulas where you've got a more sufficient aero package, you just go through there quicker and quicker. And look, Eau Rouge is amazing in VR, whether it be on a monitor as well. The thrill of going through there, and the risk of going through there side by side, especially at the start of the race. Yes, sometimes we do lose a couple of brain cells and decide to try and overtake through Eau Rouge. Very, very risky, but it can be very good at the same time. But this circuit, I think what's great about it is that you can overtake at any corner. Yes, there are the usual overtaking down the end of the Kemmel Straight and into the bus stop chicane, but if you're brave enough and you want to try and get a getaway, which we think is going to be so important in these cars, try and force an overtake through one of the chicanes into Pujon, just to try and unsettle the driver you're competing with, and making a getaway to break away from that all-important toe is the beauty of this circuit. But yes, we have open qualifying ahead of us. There's just over 8 minutes until that is the case. We have the usual suspects at the top of the timing sheets, and well, it's a long. We're going to have a look at a hot lap now, actually, and see exactly how we navigate our way around this beautiful Spa circuit.
Hey guys, Spanners here. I'm going to take you around a hot lap of Spa-Francorchamps, as if you don't already know it. It is, of course, one of the most iconic F1 racetracks in history, but it's also, I think, a contender for just overall best racetrack on the planet. We love it that much here at Missed Apex Podcast, and we love it for the iRacing Championships because it always provides great racing. I think this is one of the ultimate challenges on the calendar. Not just on a pure lap time point of view, but it's also just a great racing challenge. You have to understand when to pass, when to draft, when to compromise a corner, and there's so much room on this track to get yourself out of trouble, but that also means there's a lot of opportunity to get yourself into trouble. Let's get into some trouble over the start-finish line. So we're heading down to turn 1, past the pits on the right-hand side. This is vital for getting a good run down the very long back straight. So here, if you make an overtake down the inside, you might be compromising yourself all the way down through Eau Rouge and up towards Le Combe. Now this is definitely flat out in all 4 categories, but when you get side to side, especially on lap 1, that's where it gets interesting. In the F4, you can go 2 abreast, flat out, through Eau Rouge, but there is a high possibility of cars coming together there. Now here in the F4, the toe starts at over a second away, which means it's really important to stay in the pack, and it's going to be harder to break away. Into Le Combe, drag the brakes here, move the weight onto the outside left wheels so that you can stay in 4th gear in most of the cars. Then you have to compromise this left-hander just enough to make sure that you're flat into the right-hander and down the hill. Dive down the kink into the hairpin. Now it's just trying to understeer all the way around here, and I've found it best with most of the cars just to cling onto the curb for dear life. Go to No Name Corner. It's just a slight slowdown and getting on the power as early as you can. They've relaxed the track limits on the right-hand side there as we head into Pouhon. So Pouhon, it's a much earlier apex than you think, and so you're heading for that far grandstand super early. It feels like a long corner, but the hard bit is done all at the beginning. Now into a really challenging complex. Again, we want to be brushing the brakes initially at first. Move the weight onto that left-hand side and cling on and open up the left-hander. Now you get into another vital corner, as important as turn one, as we need to lose as little speed as possible, and we're going to be on the throttle all the way from here to the bus stop. The toe kicks in again, so you think you've shaken off that pesky F4 in your wing mirrors, but they're going to be behind you all the way through Blanchimont. Can you go too wide through turn 16? In the F4 and the F3, yes, it's possible. In the Super Formula, it's going to get emotional. Look out for cheeky little off-track overtakes on the right-hand side. So into the bus stop, here we go. Big hit on the brakes, in a straight line now. Don't give up on the brakes, you're holding them all the way into the apex. Keep a little bit of throttle on and then accelerate, and then deal with the fact that the rear end makes no apology for trying to overtake you out of the final corner of Spa-Francorchamps.
Thank you, Spanners, for that hot lap and guide around Spa-Francorchamps. I'm sure the laps that we see won't be as clean as that, though, because these cars side by side, I'm sure we're going to see plenty of action. But with just over 4 minutes remaining until we have our open qualifying, we've already mentioned the toe. We're going to keep mentioning it tonight. It's that key word, and it's going to be really important in this open qualifying session. We're going to see drivers work together throughout the race, but they're going to need to in qualifying as well, because otherwise they're not going to get the best time possible. So we'll see how that plays out and who is going to be working together. We've seen drivers work alongside at the likes of Suzuka. Sometimes it working and sometimes it backfiring. But at the moment, we have our usual suspects at the top of the timing sheet. Danny Henny leading in this practice session, just over a tenth from Luke Power, name to definitely keep an eye out on, who has been going very well and qualifying well in this series this season, but not really been able to convert it. So he'll be looking for a change of fortune today. Smithy in the gold class leader quite comfortably. I think he'll be getting a definite promotion for next season, that's for sure, as he's on our screen right now. He is doing very well, just under half a second from Danny Henny and James Gill as well. We have our special guests in Jeansy Van Gene, Alex Van Gene, today down in 17th position. So he always likes to turn up for Spa-Francorchamps. This is a favourite of his. But who is your tip for pole position today here, Chris? Who are you going to be keeping an eye on?
I mean, just from the pace that we've seen through practice and qualifying previously, it's got to be Danny Henny. He's the master around here. That said, everybody else is tipping Luke Power for some action at the front of the grid, and he currently lies second with only a tenth behind Danny Henny. Danny does tend to pull out all the stops in qualifying, though, so we should hopefully see him towards the front. But, you know, he wasn't there at Magny-Cours, and that made for a very interesting race. So it all depends, really, I guess. We talked about the toe a minute ago. It depends on if they can get their qualifying strategy right. And I heard a little birdie told me that Danny Henny and Smithy might be working on a strategy to help each other out down that Kemmel Straight.
Oh, sneaky. The two class leaders in platinum and gold class. I'm not sure how the likes of James Gill, Carl Power and Tero Tylus and Spanners also are going to take too kindly to that, as they're chasing down Danny in the platinum and Alex at the top of the gold class standings. But I guess sometimes it's the nature of this open qualifying format. I personally struggle with these. I've always found myself out of position, mainly because I'm trying to do things on my own. So no doubt we'll see the teamwork come into play here. But just over a minute now until we get underway for this all-important qualifying session. Positioning yourself with the toe is going to be important. Of course, survival is also the aim of the game here at Spa. We know with cold tyres, full tank of fuel, while Eau Rouge can become a very almost not even like a corner. It doesn't even feel like a corner once a race progresses and everything is up to temperature. In the early stages, especially at the start, side-by-side action, cold tyres, a bit of understeer, we see plenty of action and then unfortunate crashes into that famous corner. So a bit of side-by-side action here, a little bit of a preview of what to expect in this first race for sure. No doubt we're going to get it throughout the course of this evening, heading up into the F3 car and then finally the Super Formula car, where we have seen kind of that skill level really be shown with drivers who are familiar with the most powerful car on offer in this Missed Apex Championship, but still providing great racing nonetheless. But also with blue flags as well, with the nature of this circuit, with how many corners there are, the field spread can become a little bit quite big, and blue flag cars, drivers with a lap, do need to adhere to them, and they can also end up being the all-important factor in regards to who wins these races. But here we are, seconds away now as we head into our open qualifying session.
So yeah, let's see if these towing strategies come into effect, because the conversation that I overheard was Danny said, well, you give me the tow first and then see if you can keep up and get the tow on the second lap. So I think it was a definitely interesting, shall we say, negotiation there. But I think Danny might well benefit from that. And that might be the edge that he needs over Luke Power, because Luke has been so strong as the cars come out the pits for that first lap. And let's see where they all line up.
Yes, definitely. Well, we've seen the powers work together throughout the course of this championship and qualifying. Carl and Luke, uncle and nephew relationship there. So we'll see if those two are going to work together again today. I would probably put a lot of money on it that they will. But Danny Henny, as always, getting out first. We have our Platinum class leader and our Silver class leader, both of them out up front. And it does seem like, Smithy isn't anywhere near Mr. Henny right now. So, as you just said, Chris, keep up if you can. And Smithy's a good few car lengths behind to even try and get that benefit, because I no doubt others will be wanting to do the same, especially with someone as fast as Danny. But we've just seen there, a little lock-up with cold tyres. This is just the outlap, but you can see there a little lock-up, and Jeansy, our special guest today, nearly going into the back of our Silver class leader on the outlap. That wouldn't have been a good start to this evening. But this is the famous corner. This is the corner that myself and Catman said we absolutely love. Pujon down into turn 11. Any car, and especially a high downforce car, I feel like there's no quite a thrill like it and a satisfying feeling like it, Chris.
Absolutely. And what I love about this circuit is that the corners actually have names. And if you listen to our Corner Names podcast, we did a couple of episodes on it, and Spa featured very highly. I'd highly recommend checking that one out. This gives you a little bit of the history of the circuit and a bit of nostalgia thrown in for good measure. So really interesting to watch that there. And we're coming down the back straight. Danny Henny definitely hasn't slowed up to see if the other cars can give him the tow. So it looks like he's just going to have to go it alone. Smithy is a few car lengths behind, as you said. He's going to benefit from the tow from, who's that in front of him? Jose Coig in front of him. So it's all worked out very well for Smithy. So maybe the gamesmanship has already started early on as they come over the line to start their laps.
Yes, and as we ride on board, Danny here for our first outlap. And the thing is about open qualifying as well, and especially on a circuit as long as this, while of course you can play all the games you like with the tow and it will massively benefit you, if someone in front of you makes a mistake, it can totally throw off your lap and compromise any potential good lap you may have and put you further down the grid. So Danny's just taking the initiative and wanting to get this banker lap in and set the best time possible, because no doubt with the nature of Spa, when you're pushing in qualifying, mistakes do happen. So we're heading down the Kemmel Straight here, full throttle in this Formula 4 car as we head into the famous Lake Coon corner, opening up the corner as much as possible, a little bit of curb taken, trying to keep it as left as possible there to open up the then right-hander then we head down into Rivage. The swooping, slow right-hander here. Need to be careful not to lock up a front right. Patient on the throttle so that you don't run out too far. And so then you're swiftly over to the right-hand side to swing it into No Name. Need to be careful of the off-track there. It looked like Danny was right on the limit. And he's definitely pushing this F4 car now into Pouon. Turns 10 and 11. Oh, and I think that might have gotten off track there. We'll see if he slows down or if he just continues, but that is the nature of pushing through Pouon corner, is that you can, if you haven't got the temperature up in these tyres, as this is their first flying lap, he might have been on the ragged edge. Well, he definitely was on the ragged edge and might have picked up an off track there while he was pushing, which means this lap will not be valid. We'll see when he comes across the start-finish line. But definitely pushing it here, Chris. Danny Henny in this first out lap, and the cars behind, they might be looking back in the rearview camera, as we saw there in the back shot of Danny. It looked like they were very close together and maybe not even benefiting from the tow.
Exactly, they were all squabbling behind there, so I think they all slowed each other up. So you've just got to find that perfect space, as you were saying, which is so tricky around this circuit. Because don't forget, in F1 you've only got 20 cars. In this series we have well over that, so it is a tricky one to find that space, particularly as you rightly said, you need to get your tyres up to temperature. You need to make sure that you're in the sweet spot for it's probably the second or third lap that is going to be the best one for you and get you that grid position. So as we were saying, Danny Henny there doesn't look like he's clocked a time. Luke Power goes to the top there with a 2:20.2, and Lucas Raskovich tucks in behind him, but there's quite a big gap for cars to slot in as they're coming over the line now.
Yeah, Danny Henny there, that was a clear indication that the way he took the last bus stop chicane there, straightening out the exit, not even looking at the apex. There's a big wobble there from Smithy, it seems, or maybe that's tactics to give Luke Power. He gave Luke Power maybe the tow last time around, and he's now switched that around and will have enough time for another lap. It's a very long lap here in this F4 car, 2 minutes 20. Luke Power is at the top, 8 tenths faster than Lucas there in P2, and Alex Dobbersberger a full second faster than him, Alex, and his uncle Carl Power in 5th. But Danny Henny, of course, that first lap going wide at Pouon, as there is Spa, famously, not so much anymore, but famously was known as off-track Spa. It was very difficult to keep it within the track limits here, and it's better, but it still is, especially when pushing in this qualifying format. But on board with Jeansy here, currently in P8, our guest today in a nice red and blue livery. Let's see how he is getting on. Looks like he's far enough back from, it looks like Stephen Williams there in that McLaren West livery. Definitely a favourite of mine, proper nostalgia there. I think it was Mika Hakkinen. It proved me wrong, Chris. I know you're not much older than me, but you're slightly older than me. You'll remember the Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard days a lot better than I.
Absolutely, I went to some of those races, Silverstone 98 and 99. Yeah, absolutely. Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard in those wonderful liveries. And speaking of which, Stephen Williams in that car, this current lap is 2.2 seconds quicker than he was last time. So he's about to jump right up the timing tree, along with Colin Ward. Actually, he's a second faster, and Luke Power again looks like he's going to extend his margin with a half a second up on this lap so far. So it's all going off at the moment. Lucas Raskovich in second place has had a terrible lap, and he's actually backed out coming into the final chicane, seeing if he can get himself some space.
Yeah, we saw a couple of drivers there who had compromised their laps already, just letting this fast traffic go past. And we're going to see laps get quicker and quicker as these tyres come up to temperature and the fuel burns off and these cars get lighter, as Danny Henny finally sets a lap time. But as he is out up front on his own with no tow to assist him, he is back in P2. Still a solid time for him. He'll take definitely lining up alongside the front row if he can. But Stephen Williams, as you mentioned, Chris, he has improved and is 6 tenths back from Luke Power, who also improved on his time by about 3.5 a second last time out. But Jeansy, we saw Jeansy not able to improve as he also went wide, possibly a little bit too close to Stephen Williams in the dirty air, losing some downforce, and went very wide through Pouon. So he'll be looking to improve this time around, as he is very much so in the tow. You can see here the Kemmel Straight all the way from the source. It is full throttle. It is full beans up to the end of the Kemmel Straight to Lake Coombe. And I think Stephen Williams here might just let Jeansy go past, and he has. He has. Not sure if they'll have an opportunity to get another lap in, but Stephen Williams, unless he's able to really make up some time in the corners, won't most likely improve on this lap. Or maybe he'll get the toe back from Jeansy. We will see. But it's definitely still all to play for. Jose in 4th position, Lucas in 5th, Daniel Snortelen in 6th, James Gill in 7th, and interestingly, Carl Power, who is 3rd in our overall standings and the Platinum class at the moment, down in 11th place, not really getting the benefit of a toe. We'll see if he's able to improve this lap at 2:21, currently 1.8 seconds off of his nephew there in P1. So Luke Power, mentioned, he's the man to beat. That was the rumour mill before this evening. He's also been very good in every qualifying session, but not always been able to convert it. So we're looking for a change of fortune today. But let's keep an eye on the, shall we say, luminous green livery of Carl Power. We definitely have no issue picking out where Carl is out on the circuit. That is for sure. As he heads through Paul Ferrer and all the way through to the fast left-hander Blanchimont. Almost not really acting like corners in these F4 cars. It's full throttle for the majority of this circuit. Let's see how he gets on as he heads into the bus stop chicane now. It's all about the braking as late as possible and ensuring that you don't lock up the front wheels, because you can do. Here we go. You can see that front bite under the weight as he's braking in a straight line there. Very nice and tidy within track limits. Let's see if Carl's able to improve. Currently in P11, no toes to assist him, and he does improve at 20.9. but that is only good enough to move him up to P8, still 1.3 seconds behind Luke Power. As the checkered flag comes out, we have Luke Power currently in P1, 2 minutes 19.7, Stephen Williams 0.6, Danny Henney in P3, we have Lucas in P4, Alex Smith in P5, Tim Ellis P6. I'm not sure if anyone's improving right at this moment in time. They will have one more lap available to them if they was able to cross that start-finish line before the checkered flag came out. And it does look like Stephen Williams here. Now it's roles reversed, Chris, with him in the tow of Jeansy.
It is. I'm not sure they got across the line in time, though. It was ticking down. Would have been seconds in it if they did. If they look like they're still on a push lap, which they do seem to be, as Stephen Williams is setting some pretty fast sector times, you could well be in for a little upset at the end here. So you got Stephen Williams there. Is he going to get bogged through this middle section, though, with Van Gien just in front of him? The dirty air through this section here, particularly this downhill section at Puon. See if he manages to hit that apex. He does sweetly, so hopefully he's not being affected too badly. But we'll see if he can make it through. I think he does feel like he's on a hot lap now, because he's definitely pushing really hard. You can see the car squirreling through the corners there.
Yeah, Jeansy just seems to be just far enough ahead of him so that he is not getting too much of the dirty air. That's become a window where if you're close enough, the dirty air affects you less than if he was about another tenth or two behind. So let's see here now. Full throttle all the way through Blanchimont corner. This is where he's going to catch up to Jeansy, though. We'll see how Jeansy, of course, who's also on a lap, we'll see how kind he is to letting Stephen by, but this could unfortunately leave Stephen vulnerable unless he's going to back out and see that he's not overall improving. I'm not sure. I think he has done, to be honest. He gets up very close to Jeansy. It did look like that he could have gained a bit more in the slipstream. Here we go, both of them full throttle up to the finish line. Are we going to see a shock hit at the end? Stephen Williams, who is in the tow, Jeansy did get assisted, and he does a 20.5. So not an improvement, unfortunately, on his best lap time, which was a 20.3, potentially too close there to Jeansy. I no doubt there will be some, maybe some words had there. But that is the end of our open qualifying session for this evening. A great open qualifying session. Let's see what this race has in store for us. Here's our starting grid. Luke Power is P1. Alongside him, Stephen Williams. Danny Henney, P3. Lucas in P4. Alex Smith in 5. Tim Ellis, 6th. James Gill, 7th. Jose in 8th. Carl Power, 9th. Alexander Dobbsberger in 10th. Daniel Snortelen, 11th. Jeansy Van Gien in 12th. Colin Ward, 13th. Spanners, 14th. Sean Bennett, 15th. Mark Henley, 16th. John Cox, 17th. Tom Jenkinson, 18th. And lastly, we have Alexandros in 19th, Ivan in 20th, Adrian Clark in 21st, Barry Kemp 22nd, Daniel Cook 23rd, Steve Rubens 24th, Stephen Taylor 25th, Mike Stoner 26th, Daniel Cataldi in 27th, and Christopher Holsworth in 28th. And remember, guys, the top 20 are reverse grid for our next race in the F3 car. But all drivers, we're just waiting for our last few to line up on the grid here, and we know from experience how drama-packed starts are at Spa-Francorchamps. The tight first corner of La Source always provides some action. Need to be careful on the brakes here, and we'll see if hopefully everyone will be able to make it through cleanly, at least through the first corner, and then they have to navigate their way through the very fast, famous Eau Rouge. I am here and we are waiting for the one and only Spanners, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully he is all okay. And our Missed Apex host is just keeping us all waiting here and just building up the tension at the start of this race.
That'll be the international man of mystery going on there, just trying to keep us all in suspense, waiting for this grid. So while we wait, here come the lights then, Steffi.
Yes, here we go. Lights are on and it's away we go. Puffs of smoke in the back there, as it does seem to be, but Luke Power's got a great start, and Stephen Williams is on the outside of Danny Henney there. Is Danny Henney going to be able to send it down the inside of Stephen Williams? It looks like he has, and this is where things get interesting. Looks like everyone has got cleanly through turn one there. Very well done for everyone, but you can see here Danny Henney and Stephen Williams going side by side for Eau Rouge. Who's going to lift? Danny Henney lifts, and he will have an opportunity to come back at him as it's full throttle all the way down to Lake Coombe here, but that's allowed Luke Power just to get a little bit of a gap ahead of Stephen Williams. Are we going to see some weaving of trying to break the toe here? Of course, not too many moves allowed. It's very close behind, but it does seem Luke Power is going to lead into Lake Coombe here, very importantly for him. And Danny Henney giving up the run into Eau Rouge, was not able to tow back past Stephen Williams, and it is as we started. Luke Power in P1, Stephen Williams second, Danny Henney third, Lucas in P4 and Alex Smith in P5. James Gill has moved up a position into P6, and Carl Power is also up into P7 as well. It looks like Tim Ellis lost a couple of places there, as there were almost four abreast heading down into Lake Coombe. As we can see, Tim Ellis here having to fend off from Alex Dobbersberger after losing those early positions, is now on the defensive as he's lost the toe ahead from Carl Power. We're going to see how essential this is as the race pans out, but thankfully everyone so far, as there's a car in the background, they're going very wide. I think that was Jinsy Van Gien, as we saw him in qualifying do exactly the same there, taking avoiding action through Pouon, but Alex Dobbersberger now chasing down Tim Ellis. Wanted to gain a position here at the start, but it does seem like that Danny Henney is eyeing up a move in Stephen Williams, as Luke Power is continuing to extend this lead here and needs to stay ahead of that all-important 0.8 seconds. That is really where the toe starts to come into effect. And Stephen Williams here, you can see he is gaining a little bit there with the interval time on the timing tower, but Danny Henney here going for a move, Chris, and eyeing up a move into the bus stop. Let's see if he's going to make a move or if he's just going to be patient and see these tactics that we predicted were going to happen throughout this race, as it does seem like Danny Henney just patiently biding his time.
He absolutely did there. He backed out of a move. He's going to be looking to get Stephen Williams to drag him along behind Luke Power, but they do have to be careful. As you say, they are 0.7 of a second behind as they cross the line at the end of the first lap. Got to be careful that Luke doesn't then get out of that toe and then make a break for it. But also looking behind at Lucas Vaskovits and James Gill. Don't forget, James Gill is going to be fighting Danny for this championship. He's only a couple of places behind. Any mistakes here and we're going to be in a bit of trouble for Danny Henney. So he's got to make sure that he gets his tactics just right here as they come up the Kemmel straight. They're back into that toe, only half a second, so they should pull right up behind Luke Power again.
Yes, definitely. And you can see there Luke Power trying to break that toe from Stephen Williams behind. As you can see, that gap visibly becoming closer and closer. And now Luke, well, he was so close to breaking away from that toe, but Stephen Williams just stayed within it, and within half a lap is now on the back of him. Throughout the first lap there, at the end of the first lap, we saw James Gill get past Alex Smith and Carl Power also, and Tim Ellis, who has regained the positions. Alex Smith has dropped 3 positions in the space of a couple of corners there. Unfortunately, I think he was the one punching the massive a hole in front for everyone behind and just got swallowed up at the end of the Kemmel Straight. However, in the background of your screen, he is having an attempt back on Tim Ellis. He's going to try and send it through side by side into Pouon, but you can see here Stephen Williams closing the gap on Luke Power. Luke Power actually extending his gap slightly in the middle sector here, the tight, twisty section, but of course through Blanchimont and through the start-finish straight and all the way down to the end of the Kemmel Straight is where he is able to regain that. And Danny Henny just sitting patiently here. We still have 8 laps remaining, and I think this is what we're going to see, lots of posturing and positioning for that no doubt dramatic last lap that we'll see, Chris.
That's it, and 2 people who aren't posturing and positioning, so I don't think Danny is going to overtake. If we focus the battle for 12th and 13th place between our podcasters, Spanners and Jeansy Van Gene. Van Gene is looking to line up and move into the bus stop. Here he goes, just tucking up under the slipstream. Is he going to make a move this time around? Not quite, but earlier on the lap they were side by side through Pouon, which was a fascinating battle. Jeansy looks like he's wanting to make a move to get back up behind the likes of Snortland and Koigen and Ellis and Dobertsberger. So this is the one to watch this lap, as I don't think there'll be any punches pulled here.
Yes, and funny enough, Jeansy is on the panel as there's a spinner, and Jeansy expertly avoids it there and loses a position, but what avoidance there. That is Alex Dobersberger, who has lost it through turn 1. He's on the go again at the back of the top of your screen there. He did get going again. And there's a replay. Yeah, you can just see that he... I don't know if he gets tagged. There's 2 cars spinning there. Great avoidance from Jeansy. I'm still not quite sure how that happened. So here we go, down into turn 1, and he's just lost it.
Yeah, it was Smithy that lost it just in front of the 2 of them, and they all had to take avoiding action as they concertinaed back up again. So he just lost it on the power coming out of the source, did Smithy. So that's such a shame. He was in such a good position, but now he's down to, I think it's at least P14, but I can't quite see as he tumbles down the timing tree. Such a shame for him.
Yes.
And as I say, Dobertsberger is still, or was backwards, right on the racing line, so he was lucky not to be collected.
Yeah, unfortunately it does look like Alex Dobersberger has front wing damage, and at a circuit like Spa where you need that top speed, it really is hurtful. But yes, Chris, as we can see here, Stephen Williams has got the lead from Luke Power, and these guys are fighting. Now, I'm not quite sure obviously where that move was done, if it was done through a corner or if it was done at the end of the Kemmel Straight, as we were looking at the replay of that incident. But yes, you can see here the top 3 separated by no more than half a second, and Lucas also joining this pack as well. James Gill not far behind. Carl Power will be looking at this. We could very quickly see a 6-way fight for this lead, as Carl Power's not wasting any time here. He is not sitting back whatsoever, and he is going for a move on the inside of Blanchimont, as we can see Carl just trying to close down this gap here. But Luke Power gets ahead of Stephen Williams. Is he going to go defensive into the bus stop chicane here? And the problem is that these drivers, of course, while they're fighting, they're allowing everyone to close up, as Stephen Williams looks for the move on the outside, then the inside through the bus stop chicane, and he's got it done for the time being. But with that outside line, Luke Power is able to get on throttle earlier and straight line that exit. But you can see here Danny Henny now looking to move down the inside of Stephen Williams, who was slightly out of position. But this is not going to end, as this is now a 5-way fight, as this has allowed Lucas and James Gill to close up here. And we can see Stephen Williams having to pull out of the slipstream so that he does not gain too much time. He doesn't want to be tucked up behind Danny Henny too much, so that he has to lift for Eau Rouge and then become vulnerable to James Gill and Lucas behind him. But here we go again. This is round 4, guys, pretty much lap 4. There's still plenty more of this to come, but obviously the longer this goes on with how close they're going, as Stephen Williams is going to try and make this 3 wide. Danny Henny, contact made, wheel on wheel between Danny Henny and Luke Power. Stephen Williams going for the move round the outside, and Danny Henny is into the lead as they head into Lake Hume. Luke Power goes from P1 to P3, but this is not going to stop, Chris. We are going to see more of this. We've still got 6 more laps remaining.
This is crazy. They're fighting well too hard at this stage in the race. I bet they're on the radio to each other shouting, just work with me, see if we can pull away. Because as you rightly said, we've now got the top 5 all together, and Lucas Raskovitz just lost out to James Gill, because Raskovitz was behind those top 3 as they were squabbling 3 abreast into Lake Hume, and he had to check up, which allowed Gill to go around the outside. So this is going to change lap to lap to lap. and it's just going to be shuffling around, and we'll see who comes out on top right at the end, but this is far from over.
Most definitely, and well, of course, those top guys will be on the radio, as you said, to stop fighting. But Carl Power, in the back of your screen there, just outside the toe of Lukas Raskovic, will be egging them on to fight. Go, guys, do it, because he wants to be, just as James Gill was a few laps ago, egging them on to fight so that he can close down that gap and make this a 6-way fight for the lead. But you can see they're all kind of in line as they head into the bus stop for the 4th time around. But is there going to be any moves here? The problem is that do they sit back in line? The toe is so powerful that do they sacrifice that position? And Stephen Williams is going to go for the move round the outside, but of course we saw that on the outside line it is preferable as there's contact. James Gill into the side of Luke Power there, and I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, whether he got on the curb or if that was just a mistake from James Gill, but unfortunately what that's done for Luke Power. Here we go, replay, and it seems that and James Gill got tagged as well from Lucas as he went through trying to avoid that. Let's have a look at this one more time, Catman, and we can see here that Luke Power just minding his own business, watching the 2 cars ahead, and it looks like James Gill just, I think, got too close on that sausage curb, which then pushes you into the outside car. Maybe just a little bit too overzealous from James Gill, which has unfortunately, but Luke Power, no fault of his own, has demoted him down to P6. Not sure about the damage. Hopefully he's been able to get away with it. But what importantly that has done for the front 2, it has released them from the cars behind, and they are now in a battle of their own. 4 attempts between them and 1.7 seconds to Lukas Raskovic, who is now on the defence from Carl Power, Chris.
Absolutely, and let's not forget that Kyle Power has been the beneficiary of a number of crashes here. He's won twice on the final lap because people in front of him have crashed. Do not count him out. And in fact, I believe one of those times was between Danny Henny and Stephen Williams in the F3 car. So it's almost an exact replay of what happened then. So we have 5 laps left to see who's going to come out on top. But as you say, that takes the pressure off a little bit from Henny and Williams, because now they've not got the 3 or 4 cars behind that are squabbling to get together. But as you say, James Gill, unfortunately, he did just touch that inside sausage curb. I watched it on board, and he did just unsettled. He had to unload the steering. I think he got caught out a little bit because they were squabbling in front of him, and they weren't getting on the power quite as quickly as he was anticipating. So just that concertina effect that's caught him out there.
Yeah, definitely. And that is the nature of these F4 cars. They provide such close racing that you can go throughout the whole race of the battles like we've seen. And Stephen Williams closing up the gap on Danny Henny, but I think he will just probably patiently sit back and ensure that the 2 of them pull away and increase that lead over Carl Power. As you mentioned, they don't want history repeating itself with Carl Power benefiting from a potential incident between those 2. As we can see, Luke Power trying to regain those positions, but he's lost. I can't quite see if he's got any damage to the car. I think he avoided any front wing damage. Does seem to be intact. So we'll see if he's able to regain any positions, as he's having a bit of a tussle there with Daniel Snortland. But Carl Power doing very well. Here we go, on-board shot here of Luke Power, and it does seem that the floor of that car, it was more of a side-on-side contact between James Gill and Luke Power. It seems to be he's thankfully got no damage. This track, with how long it is, with of course the top speed that is required, any sort of damage, you do really have to come into the pits and take repairs. Otherwise, you're just going to lose more time if you stay out there. But Stephen Williams just slightly in behind now, working with Danny Henny here. He'll be looking to drag him, and Danny Henny will be looking to drag himself and, well, hopefully pull away from Stephen Williams, but at least pull both of themselves away from Carl Power, who doesn't have a toe at all. He is just under 2 seconds back from Stephen Williams there. So we'll see how this pans out at the end of the race. Will Stephen Williams go for an attempt on Danny Henny? Carl Power will be hoping for that and hoping to close up. It's just a case of a couple of corners side by side for the 2 of them, and then he will be in the hunt for the race win. But James Gill in P4, Luke Power back up into P5 as we gain that position from Daniel Snortland. We're on board with Mark Henley, looking at Smithy, who spun earlier on in this race at turn 1. He is looking to, of course, solidify a top 10 and chase down Spanners up ahead, our gold class leader. He does have a sufficient lead on Tero Titus in P2, who is absolutely seething. But Daniel Snortelen, James Gill and Luke Power very close here. I wonder if James has got... yes, James Gill has front wing damage. So he is just being eaten alive on the straights here, as we'll see. Luke Power, I don't think there's really going to be anything that James Gill can do here. As you can see, the front side, Chris, that front wing does not look in good shape, does it?
No, you're right, it doesn't look good, but Luke Powell wasn't able to go around the outside there, so Snortland is actually, and Van Gien and Spanners all in it together, 3 abreast coming to the final corner. This could end in tears, and it did.
Oh, James Gill there. Repeat as unfortunately lost it at the middle chicane there. Sorry, through the mid. He was in the middle. He was in the ascendancy. Maybe that damage has played a factor as he's clipped the inside of the sausage curb. The right rear clipped the inside. Thankfully, everyone was able to avoid him, and that has just dropped James down to P10. The bus stop chicane, not his fan today. He'll be hoping for better in the F3 race later. So Daniel Snortelen in P4 slightly released himself, but he will be punching a hole in that air ahead for those cars behind. Jeansy Van Gien, Luke Power, Spanners. It's all very tight here as they head down the Kemmel Straight into Lake Combe. Let's see who's going to come out on top. Will Daniel Snortelen still lead at the end as Jeansy's looking to the outside? He goes to the inside. Is he going to get the move done on the brakes here into Lake Combe on the inside? Snortelen tries to hang it round the outside here. They're still side by side into the left-hander. Still side by side. This has allowed Spanners to close up behind. And Daniel Snortelen's going to come back on the outside here. He moves back to the inside as Jeansy leaves the door open. Luke Power also looking to sneak in here. Spanners very, very close between them. Spanners moves to the outside. Looked like there was a bit of tuft of grass thrown up here. 5 cars in this fight for P5. P4, apologies, for this top position as Jeansy still just slightly ahead of Snortelen as he tucks in behind as they head through Pujon. But you can see here in the toe how powerful it is, but Snortelen is just gaining, nearly runs wide there. Jeansy to the defence, still holding off Snortelen. Spanners close behind, ready to pounce on these two if one of them just slightly goes offline. Likewise Luke Power behind, likewise Smithy, likewise Mark Henley. One mistake from these drivers could result in them losing 4 or 5 positions, Chris.
Absolutely, and at the head of this package, Jeansy Van Gien, and we've seen throughout the years with him that he is a master of defence, but I don't think he's going to have much power to keep Snortelen behind because of that toe. At this point, you've just got to get yourself in the right place and hope that Spanners behind doesn't follow him through, because he's got a great toe coming up on the outside of Van Gien as well. 2 wide there through Blanchimont. Somehow they both make it through together. There are millimetres between them.
Yes, as we head up into the bus stop chicane, we saw what happened here last time with James Gill. Is everyone going to make it through here safe and sound? They do, as Jeansy nearly runs into the back of Spanners there. Just has to dab the brakes so that he doesn't lose his front wing as Jeansy really optimised his exit there compared to Spanners. Is he going to go for a move on the inside of La Source? No, he doesn't. He's thinking about that drive. Full throttle now, all the way from here through Eau Rouge to the end of the Kemmel Straight. It's all about the toe. As you can see, Luke Power tucking in behind Smithy there, who overtook him into turn 1. We can see Mark Henley tucked up close behind as he has to take a void in action on the entry to Eau Rouge there as he got too close to Luke Power. He seems to have recovered the car, but here comes Jeansy, our 2 panellists. Jeansy on the panel for this weekend's race for the Spanish Grand Prix. He might, depending on how this goes into this corner, he might be replaced. Let's see how they get on as Spanners lifts and tucks in behind. And yes, well, no doubts this won't be the last of the action between these two today and in this race. But up the front, guys, while we've been looking at this as Smithy eyeing up a move on Spanners there, we have Danny Henney and Stephen Williams now increase that gap over Carl Power to 3.3 seconds. Unfortunately for Carl, there's nothing that he can do while these two strategically work together. 4 tenths, or just under half a second, Stephen Williams to Danny Henney now. We have 2 laps remaining. That last lap is going to be drama-packed all up and down the grid, I imagine, Chris.
Absolutely. Now, this is the crunch time lap. 8 out of 10 coming up to lap 9 next time around. Where do you want to be on that final lap, Stuffy? Do you want to be in second place or do you want to be in first? And then the question is, where do you want to make that move? Do you want to make it down Kemmel, or do you want to be making it into that final chicane? Because you don't want to be it's like the Indy 500 basically. You don't want to be caught too early in front and caught vulnerable.
Personally, I'd like to be in second place heading down into the bus stop chicane because the toe is so powerful in this F4 car. If you're confident enough that you can stay close, if you're Stephen Williams and you're confident enough you can stay close to Danny Henney, you'd be wanting to go for that move through the bus stop chicane. But here we go, bit of a tussle here, as you can see, but Smithy had to move out of the toe of Spanners there and nearly clipped him right slightly on the sausage curb, but Smithy's having to, he can't go around the outside there. That would have been an off track, or definitely would have been an off track, and it would have been an illegal overtake as he has to lift off the throttle, where Spanners just kind of compromised his run through the bus stop there. But Daniel Snowtland is increasing his gap over Jeansy. Importantly for him, 1 second. I think that's enough for him to for Jeansy not to get the toe, and that's now going to leave Alex Van Gien in the vulnerable position, as Spanners is a nice position back, far enough back so that he doesn't have to lift at all through Eau Rouge. Let's see if Jeansy does any kind of trying to break the toe here, as we've seen from other drivers. Luke Power, unfortunately, who started on pole position, has dropped back a little bit. Not sure if he's suffering with some damage there, but here we go. Spanners go into the inside. Smithy thinks about making it pretty wide there and backs out of it, and Spanners gets round the outside. A lovely move into Lekum on Alex Van Gien, and this fight is going to go down to the very end. It's gone on throughout this race. It does seem like the Snowtland has got P4 in the bag. Likewise, Carl Power for that last podium position. Of course, we're yet to see what will happen with the two leaders as they've been strategically biding their time. But this fought to the top 5 position here, it is all key, especially in this gold class. Spanners trying to chase down the lead that Alex Smithy has. Of course, Daniel Snowtland will be gaining as well on that lead that Smithy has in P7. Van Gien here, Spanners will be hoping, but he's panellist for this weekend, will be doing him a solid, Chris.
Absolutely, and back up the front we have Stephen Williams. He's still biding his time, so I think he's taken your side on that argument, where he's only 0.6 of a second behind Danny Henney, so he, coming into this final lap, is going to be in that pound seat, and we'll see where he makes the move if he possibly can. I saw Henney round that last time trying to make anything he could, trying to really push the track limits and see, but that toe is so powerful. You can see Stephen Williams here getting dragged right back up behind him, so it's going to be very interesting as we come back to Spanners, and they're going 3 wide once again.
Yes, these three fighting it out, and Smithy unfortunately finds himself in this position behind Spanners and Jeansy fighting throughout. As he's going to go through the middle, he looks at it. It's a very dangerous move there. He's very, very close. He's going to try and go round the outside of Spanners and try and do the cutback, but he has to slightly lift off a throttle, and that's left him vulnerable to Mark Henley there on the outside. Is Mark Henley going to have a move down into the first corner of La Source? Is he going to do it? No, he pulls back. And this is going to allow Carl Power to get back. But here is the crunch moment. Danny Henney, Stephen Williams out up front. It does seem that Danny has increased that gap through those couple of corners, through the bus stop. But you can see that interval time closing down as Stephen Williams is just in the toe, down the Kemmel Straight. He's not going to be close enough to make a move down into the first corner, but we're still on board with Spanners here. Van Jeansy has just been able to get a bit of a gap, importantly, to Spanners. And, well, you can see here that because Jeansy's not moving around, he's not giving the toe to Spanners, Smithy is going to be able to go past here. Spanners going to be late on the brakes here. It is the last lap. It is kind of all or nothing. And Smithy very, very kindly gives him the room, and unfortunately he's not only going to lose 1 place, he could potentially lose 3 here, as he was up into P6 but was very, very kind to the Missed Apex host. Hannah said thank you very much, and Smithy still holds on to P7 there, but could have lost the position even more to Mark Henley, as he is looking to defend from Luke Power, who just is trying to recover any sort of points he can from this race. But let's head up to the top of the timing sheets here. Danny Henney, Stephen Williams coming round to the second half of this last lap. Stephen Williams, does he have enough? Is he going to be able to gain enough time here as they head through Paul Ferrer? Let's see, he's half a second back. I think Danny Henney might have just done enough here. Stephen Williams may have to go for a Hail Mary send on the last lap. Let's see, the toe, we know how powerful it is. Through Blanchemont, he's gaining, he is gaining, but is he going to gain enough? Let's see. Where is Danny Henney going to go? Is Danny Henney going to go defensive? Is he going to leave it open and just focus on maximising his exit? And he does always a bit of a wiggle there. Danny a little bit undecisive in which which way he wanted to go. Stephen Williams looking for the cutback here. He's going to try and straighten out his exit, but I think Danny Henney has got him covered, and Danny Henney is the winner of the first race this evening, F4, by a nose, a card's width, less than a car's width from Stephen Williams. Carl Power comes across in P3. Daniel Snorterland is going to get back. He's going to cross the line in P4. We can see Jeansy has rounded off the top 5 there, but Spanners, is he able to stay ahead of Alex Smith? And it looks like Smithy has just gained P6 by a nose, side by side across the line between Smithy and Spanners there. A dramatic end to that race in the mid-pack. Let's have a go. Let's chat to Danny Henney. A very, very well fought out win there. You had to be patient. You strategically worked well with Stephen Williams. And then when he put that pressure on at the end, it was close, but you just did enough.
Oh, mate, I am sweating. And I mean sweating. I kept opening the door and telling him on the radio comms, like, go for it, Steve, you can have it. By all means, go past. Because I wanted to be behind, but then when the gap got up to 7/10, I absolutely dropped the hammer and nearly put it in the wall a few times, but thank God it paid off. But yeah, quite a strategic race. Took it easy at the start, just sitting in the pack. And then, unfortunately, the pack behind caught us and it was time to go.
Yeah, it was a bit hairy early on when you had 5 of you all fighting for that win. But then they took each other out and left you and Williams to it. And of course, you had Kyle Power lurking, and we all know that he's come through when you've had mishaps in that final corner. So were you worried for a repeat performance?
I was, yeah. I was, obviously when you see Kyle there in third, you know he's probably going to come through to win on the last corner. But yeah, it was interesting. Like I say, once they spun off and I seen it in the mirror, I said to Steve on the comms, like, right, let's not mess about, let's pull a gap, get outside the slipstream range, then we can fight later on. So fair play to Steve, he was a good sport working with me, and then yeah, thank God I just managed to hang on at the end.
Great win, Danny.
I was going to ask very quickly, how did you choose which way to defend into that final corner? Because it looked a little bit indecisive as Steve was coming up behind you. Not the comfortable place to be.
No, I was 50-50 watching the gap close, whether I cover it or not. And I thought, if I don't cover it, he's going to fire it up the inside, because I know I would. So if I go middle of the road, I've covered it enough to alter if needs be. But yeah, it was sweaty, that's for sure.
Well, the Spa curse has been lifted. Thank you so much for joining us, Danny.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Thanks, Danny. What a first race that was. We knew it was going to be drama-packed, Chris, and, well, it definitely was. It's a shame that they took each other out, but when you're racing that close, it's kind of inevitable in the end, isn't it, that someone is going to make that slight mistake, and it's define margins, but define these very close races. But let's have a look at the final standings here. Danny Henney, P1, as we just spoke to, defending Stephen Williams there, very close at the line, just over 2 tenths. Carl Power in P3, a big beneficiary of those crashes. Daniel Snorterland in P4. Jeansy Van Gene rounding off that very hardly fought mid-pack battle in P5. Smithy pipping Spanners at the line there. Look at that, less than a tenth separating Spanners and Smithy in P6 and 7. Luke Power, he'll be looking for a race of redemption in F3. His pole position start's not gone well this season, unfortunately for him. Mark Henley in P9. Tom Jenkinson in 10th. Lucas in 11th. Alexandros 12th. Ivan in 13th. Barry in 14th. James Gill, who unfortunately caused that incident at the front in P15 with his front wing damage. Steve Rubens in 16th. Alex Dobbersberger, after his unfortunate spin into turn 1, finishes 17th. Jose in 18th. And rounding off the grid, we had Mike Stoner in 19th, Daniel Cook in 20th, Stephen Taylor 21st, John Cox 22nd, Colin Ward 23rd, Daniel Cataldi in 24th, Christopher Holsworth in 25th, Tim Ellis in 26th, who had a mishap somewhere, it seems, Sean Bennett in 27th, and Adrian Clark in 28th. And we head into our next round in the F3 car, where the top 20 will be reverse grid. We've already seen some great drama and some great racing in the first round, and no doubt we're going to get the same in the next race.